over this other direction.
Well, I know, it's gonna be a little different, huh? All right, I would like to bring this meeting to order. We would like to excuse Board President Mike Garza. He has another commitment during this time. And we did start with a flag salute because we had a prior meeting and then went to an executive session. So we'd like to welcome everyone that is here. We love to have people in the audience and on Zoom. I would like to ask if anyone needs translation. All right, thank you. Before I ask for an approval of agenda, I would like to, I said that wrong, but whatever. I'd like to add to board member discussions. After the student representative application process, I'd like to add an OPMA discussion. I guess I move. Can the board president do that? Can the acting president do that in a meeting? Ken, I look to you because.
Yes.
Great.
You can ask
you know
to
these details
have that
more than
added
the rest
to
of
the
us.
agenda.
Okay. So I've made a motion.
I will second that.
Okay. Motion by Director Stevenson, second by Director Lindsay.
Strauss.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries 4-0. Do we have any public comment for today's meeting?
Yeah.
All right. I'll start with a legislative report and then we'll go, oh, wow, that was updated quickly. Thank you. If you haven't updated your screen, it is already added. Okay. So we are actually moving quite along really fast in the legislative session for the state. And there is a couple of bills that I want to bring to our attention, things that will definitely affect the school district. So enrollment, stabilization, and staffing enhancement. There's two different budgets. Well, there's actually multiple budgets, but one of the budgets from the Senate is proposing a different number than what the House is proposing for enrollment stabilization. For the for our school district, that is a difference of nearly $335,000 compared to $607,000, depending upon which budget is passed or variations of those budgets. One goes back to the 2019-2020 school year and does some weird calculations. And then the other one uses what we had, let me come up with the right term, budgeted for student enrollment. And those numbers are different for us. So pros and cons to both. Anyways, that is definitely something that the legislature is going to approve, but at what level that affects us. So then there is Senate Bill 5155. It's called prejudgment interest. This could become really scary. So I'm going to read, this is from an email from WASDA. House Appropriations heard Senate Bill 5155 concerning prejudgment interest today during public testimony. WASDA participated on a K-12 panel to weigh in, opposed to the bill, joined by many others representing education and other public entities. Most of the testimony during the hearing expressed significant opposition to the bill, especially the inclusion of public entities. We anticipate it may still pass the House Appropriations Committee in its current form. So what prejudgment interest is? Let's say that someone decides in 10 years that they would like to sue an entity for whatever reason, mistreatment, other things that shouldn't have happened, or accusations of what happened. If that person, let's see if I can put all this into words. If that person is given a payment by the courts, the court, then whoever, let's say the district as an example, not only would we have to pay that fine and that judgment, then we would have to pay the back interest to when it actually occurred. Students, youth, don't have like a length of time that they have to declare something by. So it could be years back interest that would have to potentially be paid. And so there's many people that are trying to say public entities should not have to do this. A business is different. There's pros and cons to both of that, but that is what the prejudgment interest issue is in the Senate bill.
So it's basically saying there is no statute of limitations.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes and no. So youth already have like they have to declare by a certain date, but let's say that they were a kindergartner or a preschooler, and I don't know all of the details of the law, but it could be more than what the judgment even is. If you have to do interest on all of that for multiple years, I mean, think of 20 years worth of interest.
Yeah.
So then there is House Bill 1723, the communication, access, and closing the digital divide. So broadband assistance programs for low-income persons and anchor institutions, which school districts are one of those. There's a few other listed under anchor institutions. And then it also codifies the Digital Equity Forum and then ongoing coordination between state broadband office and hard-to-reach and low-income communities to talk about broadband programs. And then the last one that really could affect us is Senate Bill 5017, District Procurement Process. So it makes it so that districts don't have to pick the lowest bid. They could pick a contractor based on qualifications and not just price. So there are certain times that we have to pick the lowest price, and there are certain times that we can make our choices, and that has to do with dollar amount of the whatever the project is. So those are some big bills and things that will affect us that wanted to share with you for the legislative report. So now we are on to student representative application process and interviews. We had how many applicants?
I believe we ended up with 7 completed applications.
Okay. I noticed that one of those 7 is currently a senior. Although we would love to have someone, but this position goes until next July, until December. And so we'd only have that senior for a few months. So, and I don't even remember who the person is. Did everyone have a chance to look over those?
Yeah, I see who it is.
Can we not interview that person? What do the rest of you think about that?
I mean, I agree. Plus the learning curve, I mean, it takes a little while to get your feet wet in the position. I just don't think there's enough time.
I'm
Between
seeing
when-
student reps, some of you make,
I don't think that's enough. I mean, they'd only be here for what, like 4 months? I'd say it takes almost that long to dip your feet in the water and get it figured out, so.
okay?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks
agree.
like we all agree with that. So there's 6 interviews then. When do we want to do that?
So is someone going to contact this individual to let them know the reason?
Um,
I don't want to leave
Yeah,
them
we'll
up
plan
to-
on contacting all the
Okay.
students, and I'll have an individual conversation
Okay.
with the senior student.
Okay. So do we want to do this at our next board meeting? Do we want to have a special meeting? I can text Mike our discussion to make sure that, like, if we're doing a special meeting, we wouldn't be able,
Could we do it in an hour, I guess is my question.
that's if we asked like 7 minutes of questions. If we planned on 7 minutes worth of questions. And then our deliberation afterwards.
I believe our next board meeting, we've also got scheduled the book study.
Before it.
Yes, so that would make an awful long day if we plan to work that in there too.
So do we want to
So-
do this at another time? What if we planned an hour and a half? Sharon, I should have said, please bring your schedule to the
Well,
board meeting.
I can, right after our next meeting, I am going to be out of town for a few days, so.
What about the 7th? That is next Monday. And then we would announce at the board meeting on the 14th
Yeah, that could work.
publicly. Sharon, currently, does that work for you?
I think so.
Okay, I'm going to
Anything the 7th.
text
What
Mike.
time would that be?
7 to 8:30 would be our plan, and we could set
Mhm.
them up. Do we want to set them up every 10 minutes?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. that
Do
would be
we
good.
still have the questions that we asked them in past meetings somewhere filed?
We'll find the questions.
Okay, that would be great.
March 7th at 7 PM, correct?
That's what I'm checking with Mike, and so once he responds, hopefully quickly, or throughout the thing, we'll discuss that for the student.
Have a couple of comments, I guess, from the
Yes.
student perspective, and maybe
Please.
to work on the logistics a little bit. Is there any interest in having the event during the school day? A lunchtime activity, so that either students that didn't have transportation or couldn't make arrangements
There's a lot of freshmen.
could be here. I just don't know if that works with your schedules.
I could make that work. Whatever's
I can make
easiest for
that
the
work, too.
kids. I'll make it work.
I think I can make it work.
So the 7th at like, what time do lunches start? 11:30?
We could do an 11 to 12:30 kind of event, or 11:30 to 1.
Could we do it on a different day than the 7th? I'm busy during the day that day, but I could do any other day that week.
Don't we have the 8th of visitation?
Are we going to a campus on the, I think that's
Oh,
the,
that's the 20th or something, never mind. I just looked it
shoot,
up.
I thought I had that.
Okay,
22nd
yeah,
is
I
for
remember,
Desert
I just looked
Oasis.
it up.
Let's see. Could we? Which day works best? So not Monday for you.
We have this superintendent student leadership group scheduled for the 9th.
So
We
not
could
the
replace
9th.
this activity with that, and I could get a message to, the students who did not submit an application. I know at least a couple of you were planning to be there already on the 9th, so we could do the 9th. Does that work for folks?
So, and then you would just reschedule
Just
your,
reschedule the other one, yep.
that is best for me too.
Yeah, because I can't do the 10th. I have meetings all day.
That's great.
That would work.
I mean, that works for me. I don't want to put you out, Pete,
Yep,
or
we
put
can-
out,
We can figure it out. It's
put the-
about making sure each student has their opportunity to share their interest in what I think is an important process, so. We'll
Okay.
shoot for the 9th at 11, is that okay?
yep.
At the library.
We'll find a space at Othello High School, yeah, that we can have
And we'll
some-
announce
some-
when and
some
where.
quiet time, yeah.
Okay,
We'll do it.
because it does need to be an OPMA, so on the 9th at 11.
I have a question, kind of for Consuelo, not really for myself, but are student reps going to be there?
We have not had them in the past
Yeah, that's
at
what I
that
thought.
meeting, but
I also said for Consuelo
I know.
because, yeah.
because
yeah.
we have your application.
Yeah.
What do you
Okay,
think?
here's also a question. So Consuelo is done with her term in June, or whenever graduation day is, maybe end of May, beginning of June. Should we be interviewing for 2 positions at this time?
Can I put comment in on that?
Always.
I think if you interviewed for 2 positions, maybe if the second position didn't start right away, but they started training, that would be a good idea.
I think that's a very valid idea.
Elise, when is your position done?
It
A
was
long time
December.
ago.
Oh, okay,
Done.
that's
It
what I
was
thought.
done back
That's
in
what I was like,
December.
okay, I think that'd be a really, don't want to do this all over again.
Right. So if we walk away with 2 student reps from the pool, then Consuelo can start taking the person under her wing, and Elise can take the other person under her wing, or if it ends up being her, then she'll stay in her position or whatever, but, give that person some time to train under Consuelo, and then we don't have to do interviews and this kind of stuff in 2 more months.
I think that's genius, yes.
Let's do
Okay,
that.
so we're planning for 2. And are we inviting Consuelo to be present?
Just to add to that, a lot of the other student representatives that I've talked to around the state do participate in there. They don't like get say in who it is, but they do give their opinion on the different applicants.
I think that would be a good process.
Consuelo, can you be available?
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, I have school,
Right.
but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I think that that's a perfect plan. Let's plan on the 9th. And I'll let you know if I hear from Mike. And there would be still 4 of us, so. All right, OPMA discussion. I think that we just needed to, I added this because we get requests as a board all the time to come to different campuses to do different things. I think that we need to make sure, have some kind of system that if we're going to a campus and we've been invited, because often it's the campuses that are inviting us, not the district, that we like, I don't know, let Peter, Marissa know, hey, just so you have a heads up, I'm going to this campus at this time. And then if an OPMA, 2, 3 or more board members are going to be present at something, then they can announce that a quorum would exist. First of all, does that work for you? Okay, like by text or email or something?
Okay, so I need some clarification on that. So there's a basketball game on a Friday night and 3 board members happen to show up. We don't sit together, we don't speak to each other. That's considered breaking OPMA?
It could be.
I don't think it does, because we are a small community, and there's going to be certain circumstances where all the board members, as long as we do not discuss school business.
That's
should
really
be-
where the problem lies, if you're discussing school business,
Okay.
is when OPMA could be violated. It's
So-
sometimes hard to not see each other and say, hey, did you read or did you find out?
Okay, so if I see you at a basketball game and I say, hey, did you see this on the agenda? But I don't say that to anyone else in the board and there's only 2 of us, is that considered breaking OPMA?
No,
Has
but
to
if
be
you
3 or
went
more.
to a third board member, seen another board member, and discussed the same issue, then it could be considered a meeting.
Okay, so if we happen to show up at a basketball game or a concert and we don't talk or only 2 people talk, it's not considered an OPMA violation. Roger that.
These lovely little details when we're controlled by RCWs.
I did ask Ken at the game, are we
Oh,
illegal? Because there were
okay.
4 of us.
At
Jazz
Jazz
That's
night?
good.
Well,
That
No,
was
no,
basketball
no,
game.
the girls' basketball
Oh,
game.
I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
I was the odd one out on that one.
Yeah,
Okay,
so, I mean,
gotcha.
and he told me we were fine.
right. It is convenient to have that information if we need to be able to announce possible quorum. But what do the rest of you think?
Do you need a 24-hour notice? That's what I thought.
And you have to post it on the building, and you have to put it out. There's a bunch of lovely details.
Okay.
So is it worth it for us to do that, or are we just going to not have discussions? Or not talk to each other at a fence?
I think it's pretty easy for us to not congregate in a group of 3.
Mhm.
If we're I mean, for example, I don't know what it was like at Jazz Night when there was 4 people there, but all 4 of us were at the basketball game, and not intentionally, but I didn't speak to any other board member. So, unless it's something where we're planning on meeting up with each other there, at least for me, I don't think it's necessary to do an OPMA, but that's just
Mhm.
me.
Okay. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure that when I showed up to do green eggs and ham today, I thought, oh dear, I wasn't sure if anyone else, that's all.
That's why I didn't go. Didn't know what to do.
I think if I could add, the challenge in that specific situation that's different than a basketball game or a community event or a church activity is that it's a district-sponsored event. So if there was an opportunity where a school like Scooty was gonna invite all of the board members to be there and the district saying, hey, show up, we'd wanna be in the loop on that, so we could publish something and let folks know
Mhm.
that you're gathering. If you just happened to be there, you know, it wasn't an activity that we scheduled and there was no obligation for you to be there or formal invitation. But we'll discuss a protocol with the principals about just letting us know when those things might happen so we can protect you and protect them. But I guess the other part about your conversations with each other, that's really on you as elected officials
Mhm.
to know what those rules are and to steer clear of any sort of violation. But if we're sending out a formal invite, we'll make sure that we take care of protecting the district and protecting you.
Okay, so I guess we do have Dr. Seuss week this week. Are any of you going in to read in classrooms? I am tomorrow. Is that something, Pete, that we should kind of coordinate with you guys, just to let you know? I mean, I'm not sure we're going to the same campuses, but
Yeah, I think it is a school-sponsored activity, and so if you are,
Okay.
we're all 3, I went and read today. You know, if 3 of you had shown up in a room, it probably is appropriate that we let folks know that you're gathering at a school site. So, you know, letting Marisa know through email so that we can have a record of that and track those activities, that would be helpful.
okay, will do.
Great. Anything else? Other comments or questions on that? Okay. All right, let's go on to student representative reports.
Before we jump into that one, I apologize, and maybe it fits right here appropriately. And it's about the question about participation of student reps in the student interview process. I think one of the challenges and we're been actually talking with Assistant Superintendent Jessica Schenk about the transition at McFarland and the new principal there, that whole process. You know, I think there are times where things need to be said about particular candidates for a position when the person who currently has the job or had the job before is in the room, that can be awkward for candidates to share. I just want to offer that perspective. If I'm a student rep and I've been watching all these board meetings and I've seen how Consuelo behaves and I think I can do it better, and I want to tell my story by saying, hey, I saw Consuelo do these things, here's what I would do differently. Am I going to be okay saying that when Consuelo's in the room? I think there's just some consideration for some confidentiality for our students who filled out that form and want to show up, and also for the opportunity for them to be candid when they're speaking with the board about what they might bring to the table. And perhaps of the 7 we have, maybe they've never watched the board meeting. That's probably most likely. But I think we should consider the seriousness that I think they're taking it with, the demonstrating by filling out that application, and just giving them a shot to, and certainly not discounting Consuelo's input, but maybe there's another format for us to consider. So I think we have some time to think about that, but I did want to share that perspective about giving every student an opportunity to feel like they could share their voice.
Does anyone want to, so my opinion is having Consuelo or a student rep in the future, maybe should say it that way, there for the interview process, but not for the, I want to say caucus, that's not the right word. Like when we make a decision and talk about the pros and cons of the individuals, or.
Like the debrief of the interviews,
Yes, and where we like make our final decision.
All that discussion will
But-
be in executive session, won't it?
Yeah, we'll do an executive session so that
Yes.
the student, and maybe that's another consideration here, Ken, that we wouldn't, you know, are we still calling it an executive session if we're allowing student reps in the interview? Because if we do, does that open it up to the rest of the public? You know, could mom and dad sit in the audience and listen to the questions you're gonna ask and give you feedback after you make your choice?
So we've always had the student rep interviews in the past. I mean, we can make any decision we want. The interview was an open public meeting, but the decision-making was an executive session. So, as a board, how and what do we want to do?
I don't remember anyone being in the room, but the board was,
Usually they walk out.
like, the superintendent. Did the superintendent stay last time? And, like, his staff and stuff? I
There was,
don't,
there was nobody in the room when I did mine, except for the board.
yeah, I don't remember anyone being there.
Um,
And if it's an open public meeting, then do we YouTube it?
No, because we only YouTube our regular meetings. We don't do site visits or special meetings, those kinds of things. We haven't been YouTubing or Zooming.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know about the Zoom part. So, what do we all think? It's been a while since I've been in a student rep interview because my child was in one of the interviews, one of the last rounds, and so it's been quite some time. So I don't remember if they ended up just walking out. I thought that, maybe I'm thinking when we interviewed people to be on the board to fill an empty spot, that they would interview and then they would go and sit and listen to the rest.
I don't, I'm drawing a blank. I want to say that when Elise interviewed, she was the only student in the room. When your son interviewed, he was the only student in the room.
Were there other people or just the board, like it was an executive session?
It was the 5 of us and 1 student.
Yes. Yes, it
So
was.
we're calling this an executive session then, and then that would exclude, whatever the right word is, not let student reps come if we're doing an executive session.
Correct. When we appoint a school board member, though, that is an
Yep.
open meeting. Oh, tricky. I don't know.
So are we now, I kind of was getting head nods. So are we now going to call it an executive session and have the board and the superintendent in the room?
I just don't want to, I want to do whatever is going to promote the most involvement.
Transparency?
Okay, I was going a different direction.
Oh, sorry.
Not that transparency is not important, but the most involvement from students to try and go for this. And if it's going to make them feel like they don't want to interview, if they have to do that in front of the room of their peers and the other people interviewing, I don't want to do that to them. So I don't know. Pete, do you have some direction?
Yeah. So I think about interviews in any other process. If you were going to interview a 5th board member, because Mike had resigned his position and stepped away, Mike wouldn't be on the panel. Mike wouldn't listen in. If you had 3 candidates for Mike's position, they wouldn't all 3 be in the room. You'd have them one at a time, so they couldn't hear the questions, so they could, have an authentic experience. So I'm trying to think of another scenario where the outgoing person would be on the decision-making team. I think it would be unusual. The other thing about making the students feel comfortable, which I think is important, because we have 7.
Right.
We haven't had 7 in the last 7 years.
Right.
I think that's something pretty special. And to tell a kid, hey, you're going to show up on Wednesday, it's going to be on Zoom, people are going to be watching, good luck. I'd rather say, you have 10 minutes to tell them what you're about and why your voice matters. Go get them. And it's
Yeah.
going to be just you and them, and the only folks that are going to know what happens in the room are you and them. I think that would, back to your point, Lindsay, let kids know that it's a safe space to share their voice and to tell us how they could contribute. And, hopefully next time we have 17. So I think that's the way that I would lean from the student perspective. But this is a board member. It's your opportunity to have someone join your team.
Other thoughts? So are we going to go with the executive session and
That's-
only the board is present.
That's my vote where I'm leaning,
Okay,
where I'd like to
it
go.
looks like all of
Mhm.
us present agree on that. So Consuelo, I'm sorry, you have to stay in classes. We will tell you later. When everybody else knows in the public too. Same with you, Elise. All right, anything else in board member discussions that we need to hit on, calendar?
Can I just mention something really
Please.
quick?
Yeah.
This was to do with the vaccinations, and I don't know if everybody knows this, but the advisory board to the Department of Health, by a 7-6 vote, decided not to recommend the COVID-19 vaccination to the list of vaccinations. And now the State Department of Health will be convening here shortly to make the formal vote.
They make the formal decision.
They
This
make
was
the
their
formal-
advisory
This was their
committee
advisory committee,
And
that
it
made
went 7-6.
7-6.
against making it a mandatory vaccine.
Yes.
Okay? If we're talking about that, let's also talk about the texts and the calls that those
March
that have
14th.
children still are in the district, must have gotten about mask change date.
Yes.
Pete, would you like to share that?
About the most recent change?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we sent out a letter last week, spent a lot on postage to let folks know that a decision had been made by Governor Inslee to remove masking requirements on the 21st. And that date has been accelerated. I think we all learned today to, I believe, the 11th. He moved it up 10 days or so. So when we come back to school on the 14th, there will be some consideration for optional masking for students. So absolutely moving that direction across the state.
Was there any clarification about teachers being one way or the other, or is it mask optional for everybody?
Yeah, my understanding right now is it would be optional for all folks.
Great. And for the school bus?
They took that
No.
off too.
Yeah, so for the school bus, Director Stevens, that was actually a change that was, I think, further clarified this afternoon by Superintendent Chris Reichdahl, who indicated that I believe that one takes effect immediately.
Oh,
And the challenge there. They're keeping it through the 11th. Okay, so again, that's changed a couple times today. But OSPI did send out a message about that. And I think one of the challenges, and probably a good idea to keep it through the 11th, is you have kids riding a bus to school without a mask, and then they have to get on and put one on. So we're coming to the end of this ordeal that we've all been trying to manage, and looks like it's going to be the 11th across the state of Washington.
Great.
I have a question.
consistency, thankfully.
I was going to email it, but I think it's appropriate to ask now. I want to send a survey to grades like 6 through 12 just regarding their thoughts on the change in the mask mandate. I don't think we've heard very much of it, so I don't know. Can I do that? Should I get approval from Pete first before I send the survey?
Yeah, we certainly want to, vet and review any survey that would be sent out to our students. That would be the expectation for any of us or for any
Right.
outside group. So if you have a series of questions that you want us to put out and get their opinion on, we could certainly do that.
Thank you.
I think perhaps one of the unknowns here is there's going to be some hesitancy by some students to take the masks off. And I think that will be a new dynamic that we'll have to deal with and manage over the next several months. But what I hear from in schools the last 2 years has been an overwhelming desire to feel comfortable and safe without a mask. And we're headed that direction for sure.
I mean, even my 4th grade daughter said, "Mom, I think I'm going to keep my mask on." And, we haven't been a very cautious household, I would say maybe to call us, I don't know. So I was like, why? She said, well, I got braces, my teeth are really ugly now, so I want to hide my teeth. So, I mean, maybe there's some of that too. We're trying to work through the self-esteem issues that go with that, but sometimes they've been hiding, it's a way to hide something you're insecure about too, so.
I do. I mean, if I could just take a moment to commend the board for your persistence the last couple of months and the last few weeks in particular, because there are school boards and school districts, 3 or 4 across the state of Washington, that made a different decision. that made a move to accelerate it even just a little bit faster. And I think they all paid a terrible price in their communities because they all had to back away from that. And as I think interested as some of you and some of our constituents and some of our staff were in moving more quickly, I think the smarter play was to wait it out, and we're here now. So I just wanted to thank you for that, not to put undue pressure on yourselves or on the system by trying to accelerate this by just a couple weeks. I think it worked out well for us.
All right, student reps, I think we are finally to you. I'll let you pick your own order.
Okay. I don't have much to share today, but so DOHS will be WIDA testing on March 8th and 9th, and we will have regular schedule those days. We're not having late start. And then some of the DOHS seniors will be traveling to CWU for a campus visit on March 2nd with Mrs. Tovar. And Senior Opportunity Night is taking place tonight at OHS from 6 to 7 p.m. For anyone interested in CV Tech or Running Start. March 30th will be midterms. March 31st and April 1st will be conferences for all students. And DOHS staff and students are looking forward to our school board visit on March 22nd.
All right, at the preschool, they have completed some assessments. They completed 168. The results of that show that 73% are ready for kinder, with the others following close behind. They're also participating in Read Across America dress-up days. At Ludwig-Haga, they are boosting school spirit for motivation, and by doing that, they're celebrating Read Across America. And on top of that, they're working on their math and reading frameworks. At Wahidas, they did some WIDA training for their teachers to get them ready. They're instituting part of the house system back into the school with spirit days and a point system. They had an academic and grit assembly to build a sense of pride and belonging, and parents were able to attend that. They also had a K-5 Teacher of the Year, and that was awarded to Stephanie Garza, who was nominated by a former student. At Scooty, they already did their WIDA testing. They are doing a Dr. Seuss themed Read Across America, and then they're gonna have their board presentation tonight with a more in-depth look. At Hiawatha, Will has been out of the district, so I didn't have a report, but they're doing WIDA testing and also celebrating Read Across America. At MMS, they had a Spirit Week for Valentine's Day, and they sold Valograms to raise money. They have some dress-up days this month for autism awareness and a 7th and 8th grade social before the start of spring sports. And then finally at OHS, they participated in the WIDA assessment last week, and they had a late start for that. And then we have student-led conferences coming up and a semi-formal dance on March 19th. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
What is the semi-formal dance?
Well, originally, it's changed. Originally, it was the Valentine's formal, and now it's the spring formal, so they can move it outside, and it's essentially Sadie's.
What's the spring social at the middle school, do you know? Is it a dance or
So as far as I know, a couple years ago, actually when I was in the 7th grade, we instituted starting these socials, which originally we had called sock hops because Chad Smith said that was what they did when he was in middle
back to
school.
1995?
Yeah. So, but we changed them into socials, and so now they just, as far as I know, they still do the same thing. They have games in the cafeteria and have their concessions open and sell food. The ASB does that, and then they have like dancing in the gym with some disco lights and whatnot.
Fun, thank you. Any other questions for student reps?
I'd like to give a shout out to Consuelo, who got accepted to Central Washington University. So she's going to college. Congratulations, Consuelo.
Thank you.
Awesome. And in honor of Read Across America, I wore my One Fish, Two Fish socks today, but I don't think I am limber enough to put them on the table for everyone to see. So, okay, moving on to required approvals. I have a couple of questions. Agile Minds on accounts payable, we are paying $18,000 there. What is that?
That is a math curriculum. This is year 4 of 4, and high school does get a grant to cover that.
Awesome.
Curriculum.
Love to hear that we get grants for those. Bureau of Reclamation, $14,000.
That is an annual fee that we pay. It's cost is to irrigate the lawns of the McFarland, Ludocaga, Scooty, the high school, the pig farm. It's a contract we've had, or an agreement we've had since, I think, 92, from what I can tell.
Okay, awesome. Any other questions or comments on required approvals?
Sorry. I'll make a motion to approve required approvals.
I will second that.
Okay, motion by Director Lindsay, second by Director Ken. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Required approvals passed with a 4-0 vote. Okay, Superintendent informational items. We'll turn it over to you.
Yep, thank you. Multiple items on the agenda tonight. I'd like to invite Ed Peterson forward. He's going to introduce a couple of folks to help present a Challenge Coin Award for this evening.
So this is the third Challenge Coin presentation we've done since we kind of revamped how things work. And as you all know, for the benefit of the folks watching at home and here who haven't heard, our Challenge Coin initiative is intended to recognize excellence in our schools, people who make outstanding contributions to our student and our district, people who are great examples of how we're living up to the ideals of our mission and vision. Before I bring Jennifer Garza up to announce who her nominee and recipient is this month, I want to recognize the fact that we have received some very, very good nominees from lots of different sites around the district. And the fact that not all of those people are up here receiving a Challenge Coin is in no way indicative of their value or worth or contribution to our district. Really, it's been a lot of fun reading through some of those nominees. But Jennifer, I'm going to invite you up if you want to introduce your nominee.
Thank you. So I'm super happy to be here tonight, and hopefully she forgives me, but the Challenge Coin that I nominated is Ashley Phillips. And so hopefully it was still a surprise. I asked her if she would come tonight with JC to talk about transitional kindergarten. So that's how I got her here tonight. So by the way, we present in May, and I really do need you to come talk about that. But I want to give Ashley this coin tonight to recognize her for the incredible work that she does at the preschool. I won't say that she's the only one that has an amazing heart for our students with special needs, but she has one of the most incredible hearts I know. She cares so much about all of our students, but especially those with special needs. Ashley works diligently and is constantly pushing me for how are we going to include these students in our general education classes. Can they go for a half hour? Can they go for an hour? Can they be there all day? She totally believes that they can do it and that they deserve a spot in those classes. And so she's constantly pushing those little kiddos, and she's constantly pushing us to how are we going to get them in there. She has been a great asset to the other special ed teachers in our district this year. She has worked with the self-contained teachers and the life skills teachers at Ludocaga and Wahidas this year. They're both newer in their positions, and so she has taken time from her prep time and from her daily time to go over to their classrooms to support them, to help them do lesson plans, to help them know how to challenge those students. So I know that has been a ton of extra work on her plate. She's helped student teachers, and then she also helps our staff at the preschool when they are struggling with a kid because of behavior or the kid's not making progress. Ashley is an incredible resource to our program, to our special ed students, and a real blessing to our district. So I wanted to recognize her for that work. Paula Lang also helped me write the nomination for her, and so I was beyond thrilled when Ed called to tell me that she had been selected, and so congratulations to Ashley.
I think you have more important roses coming than a challenge coin.
Everybody smile with your eyes. I can't wait to stop saying that. Nothing more. Hold the coin up so you can see it.
Next meeting, we won't
That's
do
what-
this early.
It's gonna be weird.
Well, thank you to Ashley and her family for being here this evening, and to Jennifer and the team over at the preschool for an outstanding nomination. I know during COVID, there certainly have been opportunities missed for students, opportunities for them to participate in activities and in some of their pursuing their passions because we couldn't gather. We lost some things. Those things are starting to pick up again. And we want to recognize that and take every chance we get to recognize student excellence. And so we have a student here this evening and the teacher to talk a little bit about excellence in the Othello School District. So invite them forward.
Good evening. How about now?
Okay.
All right, good evening. My name is Amber Johnson, and I'm the choir director at Othello High School. And standing next to me is Adrian Mendoza. And I'm pleased tonight to talk with you a little bit about his wonderful accomplishment. So every year we take students to our solo and ensemble regional festival. This includes Othello, the Tri-Cities High Schools, and Walla Walla High School. And at that festival, the top scorers in each voice classification room are selected to attend the State Solo and Ensemble Festival. And Adrian is the first student in probably close to 10 or 12 years that's been selected to go and represent us at state. He took first place in the baritone solo room. So congratulations to him for all of his hard work. It was just really thrilling this year. He sang beautifully, and I knew he had scored well, but to have him take first was really exciting. So he'll get to go and sing again in April at the state event, and we'll receive a second score there.
I mean, if he wants to sing to us now,
I totally
mean-
wanted to say that too.
we have a minute, so just saying.
I was going to say you missed it. He sang at jazz night last.
We heard him.
Well, thank you to Ms. Johnson and to Adrian for showing up tonight and for representing Othello well and Othello High School well in their endeavors. So nice to get that recognition for them and all their hard work. I didn't want them to hear my voice with Adrian in the room. He was judging me the whole time. Three other items. Two are just real quick informational items, but I thought it was important that the board was aware. The urgent repair grant, it was a grant offered by the state that Greg Foltz and Amy Suarez worked on. And I just wanted to let you know that because of their good work, we received $200,000 for some urgent repairs in the school district, and I think they're going to go towards roofing projects. So still some work to be done about securing bids and doing that kind of thing. But I think really excellent work on their part to secure those resources for the school district.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next one was just a copy of a letter we received from Adams County about broadband grant. And I wanted to let you know that the school district had submitted a letter of support as they worked through the grant process. And it was nice to hear back from them that Adams County had received funding for some significant work in our area, in our community. So I think just evidence of the importance of community partnerships and us working with other entities to make sure that we provide the students and our citizens the resources that they need and deserve. So I wanted to let you know that had moved forward as well. And then the last item is the financial reports for the month.
I have a couple of questions on the financial report. Can you bring that up? Money is just such a hot topic for the district right now. I just wanted to, first of all, I appreciate that we get to see a financial report of where we're at once a month. This one looks bleaker than normal. And so I have a couple of questions. Let's start with page 4, I think. Let's see. Actually, let's go to the bottom chart on this page. Oh, it's the next page, I guess. There we go, that one. Okay, so our fund balance, we always have, there are always fat years and lean years. That's just how the world works. We had a specific request at a past meeting from public comments to look at our fund balance. And so I really wanted to understand this report a lot better. So 3 years ago, we had almost $16 million in our fund balance. Last year, a little less. This year, we're at the 10 number, 10 million. This is like, in home finances, this is like the savings account. To try to come up with a balance that is a good stewardship of money, but being able to use the current funds, maybe the best question is, Amy, can you explain how, I know that there's a chart later on about what exactly this number comes from. Can we go to the bottom of page 6?
So the fund balance is.
Keep going down.
We start the school year with a fund balance, and then the year-to-date revenues and expenditures gives us whether we're over or under on our revenues over expenditures, and that causes a decrease or an increase to our fund balance.
Okay. So you have, do we have like a pointer, or should I go up there and touch it and ask? I'm going to go up there.
We need a bigger screen.
Yes, and I'll take a mic so that people can hear me. Because I don't have all the little red pointers, so apparently I need to invest in one of those. Okay, so what is this column? I know it says it at the top. This is the budgeted for the year, correct?
Correct.
This is the actual for the year?
Correct.
So we thought at the beginning of the year, we were going to have 11.5 million in unassigned fund balance.
In fund balance.
Beginning fund balance, sorry, there's a difference. But we actually have 13.5, right?
Correct.
What can,
So
these don't mean a lot to me. Can you describe what these numbers are from this?
okay, so the number right above the beginning fund balance, you see there's a negative 2,870,103.
Okay?
That is our expenditures over revenues. So year to date, we've received 2.8 million less in revenues than we have in expenditures, than we've received in revenues.
Okay?
So that has reduced our fund balance by that amount. That's, so 13,545,000 minus the 2.8 million gives us the 10.6 million.
Okay.
However, in our year-to-date revenues, there are some claims that we have not received of about 1.2 million. So that would increase our revenues. That's for our ESSER funding. We have used our ESSER grant, but we have not submitted our claim because we have to do an OSPI revision.
Okay, so is this the 1.2 that you're talking about, or where is that?
That would go up in the 26 million in year-to-date revenues. So once we receive that,
I'm sorry, where?
up and scroll down a little bit, the 26 million year-to-date
Yes.
revenues. So once we receive it, we would receive it under the federal special purpose.
as a revenue,
Correct.
federal special purpose, it will go
Correct,
add on that number.
correct,
Okay, so you said 1.2 is what you're preparing to submit.
correct.
And how long does that usually take to get ESSER funds?
So with ESSER, it's kind of different where you can expend it in 1 year and then receive it in the next year. So that is some of the money that I'm talking about, the 1.2 million was actually spent last year, and we will be receiving the grant claim probably in April. We're going to do the revision this week and then get OSPI approval and then submit our grant claim. So I think by
Okay.
April, you will see that in there.
So it takes a few months to get it because we're loving all of the hoops, the federal and state hoops you get to jump
Correct.
through. Okay? Okay, so that will actually change, okay?
Plus-
That will end up changing this number here,
Correct.
okay?
Well, our expenses change month to month.
Every month it all changes, right? Okay, so what is this 1.1?
Okay, so the 1.1 million is money that we had to set aside at the end of last year. It was for carryover that we will be receiving this year. We actually we did receive it in January, but I have not released it into our fund balance until everything gets approved. It came in like the end of January, so I will do the journal entry during February, and you'll see that change in the February report.
Okay,
So that number will actually change, will be decreased by 734,000 because we do have to maintain 400 and some thousand in there for some professional
for
development.
other carryover
Mhm.
accounts. I
Yes.
know that there's all kinds of pots and you have to take the right things out of the right pots, okay? So this 300,000 that says committed to other purposes,
Yes, that was for a board resolution. I think it was from 2015 for infrastructure. It started at about 1.6 million and we're down to 298. So every year when we expend out of there, we decrease that amount. So right now it's 298 that we're holding in as a reserve for technology infrastructure.
oh, technology infrastructure. You
Yes,
said
that's-
infrastructure, okay.
That's from
technology.
2016, yes.
Okay, so we had set that money aside, that's why it's committed. Okay, so assigned contingencies, 2.5 million.
That is a decision we made at the end of August to put some contingencies on, for 1.5 for technology and about 1 million for negotiations. We didn't know at that time what the expense would be or how it would affect our fund balance.
Okay. I just want to fully understand all of this stuff because there's so much here. 500,000 assigned to other capital projects.
Yes, so a couple of years ago, you guys did a board resolution to transfer $4 million to capital projects. In the 2021 school year, we transferred 3.5 million. So that is the remaining amount that the board approved that we can transfer to capital projects if the need comes up.
Like the difference in the roofing cost to
Correct.
fix these, because if you read those details, it says the rest has to come from the district. So the other, you said 4.5 million, anyways, we've spent the other to buy portables instead of rent them because it's cheaper,
Correct.
to fix the track. Any other ideas on what?
Preschool portables, high school portables, and then we purchased all the portables that we were currently leasing. They've all been purchased as of now.
Okay.
Our asphalt repairs,
Oh, asphalt repairs for the bus area, okay. Unassigned fund balance is negative 1.5 million.
correct.
What does that mean? In layperson terms.
So that means it's kind of like saying unassigned. So if you look at our ending fund balance and you subtract all those other contingencies, puts that number in the negative 1.4. That's what's available as of right now. So we're kind of in the negative, but we're not because we know that there's claims that are going to be coming in.
Okay. And then the minimum fund balance policy is our 10% 1 month expenses, basically, that is a board policy, that I know that number has to go up a little bit every year, depending upon our
Or-
annual budget.
Your budgeted expenditures, 10% of budgeted expenditures.
Okay. So this 10, when it's been 13.5, it goes up and down, I get that.
Mhm.
It just looks a lot bleaker than it has in past months. So I just wanted to fully understand.
I got a question, because here,
Should I stay here and point?
well, the very.
such a good
The
vantage.
very first thing is the enrollment report on that. And this, it's 195 below budgeted enrollment. So when are we going to see the full effects of that in our budget?
So if you calculate that, that equals to about 1.6 million. So that's from budget expenditures. So in January, OSPI did a recalculate of what our apportionment is, and they took that into consideration.
In January. So we're going to see more of an impact on that bottom line dollar
Correct.
there
So-
still. more.
Yes, so if you see the amount on probably about state and local revenues of $45 million budgeted revenues, it's going to be a little bit less. It's going to be 1.6 less than that.
Okay, thank you.
But we are going to get some stabilization money, so we're hoping that it's the 600 and some thousand. Sure.
The question that Ken just asked, the January recalculation, that $1.6 million is already reflected there.
Yes.
Well, because it sounds like it will.
Yeah.
So that's not going to go down another 1.6.
Okay.
Each month, OSPI takes the year-to-date average.
They
And so we might end
work
up
off of
with
monthly.
more kids than we have right now, so they'll flush that out.
I know these numbers fluctuate, and during the winter months, I know they're always a little bit higher too. And I know when we start the beginning of the year, it's all on estimates from the previous budget, and I know they're pretty conservative, but I know we had some unusual circumstances at the first of the year that we lost some students, and I'm hoping that things are, when they start to get back to normal, we'll start to see some of those students return back.
I agree.
Any other questions on any of these things? Amy, thank you for the details and to help, hopefully, both our community and the board fully understand all of those details.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think we are ready to go on to Scooty Springs Elementary School report. Do you want to take it away, Pete?
Yeah, we'll just invite Principal Boudouin and Assistant Principal Marriage forward to share with you their presentation. We appreciate the board's flexibility at our last board meeting to give us some additional time so we could manage the activities that happened at our last board meeting. So we're excited to have them here today.
Back off again. Okay, is it on now?
Yep.
Perfect. So we just wanted to say thank you for inviting us tonight and giving us a chance to share a little bit about the work that we're undertaking at Scooty. We're putting a lot of time and energy into this work, and we're really excited to talk about it. So the first 3 slides that you're going to see, we hope are familiar to you. These are the slides that we presented at the board retreat in August, where we talked about our work for the year. So if you want to, oh, thank you.
So when we talk about, or we think about engagement and community, the last 4 years, we have worked to lay the groundwork. So at this point, we're still focused on it, but we're in the refinement phase. This year, intentionality has been our heavy lift with the driven by data work. We have put all of our time and energy into supporting this work because we know that this is going to make the biggest impact for our student learning.
So, and then just a real quick reminder about that driven by data work. That does involve creating scope and sequences, creating interim assessments, meeting to discuss the results of those assessments, and then we're also adding in quite a bit of professional development and time and energy and resources to support the teachers in that work, and so that they can support their students.
So tonight we'd like to tell our Driven by Data story, and we felt like the best way to tell the story is through the voices of the teachers in the classroom. And so we're going to start with 5th grade with Sharon Fagert.
Hi, my name is Sharon Fagert, and I teach 5th grade here at Scooty Springs. And I was asked to talk about our math curriculum, basically, I guess, that we use. We started with looking at all the different standards that we have to teach. From there, we went to what the ESPA requires 5th graders for math. And we built a scope and sequence from there. We developed a calendar, so we knew how many days we needed to basically spend on each standard. So we built a working document that has our lesson plans in it. It has our success criteria. It has our standards that we want to hit. And from there, we have different worksheets that we can use, all within one document. We have worksheets we can use. We have videos that we can show to kids. We have quizzes we can give them. We have formative assessments we can give them. And then we also started developing our interims. And from there, we put those into EdSite, and we've been working on those basically this year. We've gone so far as to take those with our team, actually, and look at misconceptions that the kids might have so we can fine-tune our teaching. So we built into our calendar, into our lesson plans each day, activities that they can use, building things, and actually getting those hands-on help for them. When we took our first interim, which happened to be fractions, the success that we had with those kids because of all the work we put in. We saw some really good growth with kids on this interim, and when we looked at it as a whole grade level and we split everything apart, looked at which ones they were still struggling with, we could add in questions to our second interim that they were still struggling with, and then we would make sure we would still hit those standards.
So if you look at the graphic on the left, that's kind of a snapshot of what she was talking about. So it started with the scope and sequence, and they used the SBA data to map out their year. And then they created the unit plan and the daily lesson plan. And what she didn't tell you is they did all of this in the summer. So when they started the school year, they hit the ground running. So this graph shows after the first interim, the scores and the data that they collected. And we are really excited because this shows that their hard work really paid off. And I know you look at that and you see, wow, there's still a lot of yellow. But traditionally in these standards, we struggled. So they intentionally put fractions first because it's the largest part of the SBA for 5th grade. So they decided that they wanted to start with it, hit it hard, and then, as she said, they created a reteach plan so that they would come back and teach these standards that were a little more of a struggle, so that when we do get to the SBA, that they were ready to go.
So our 2nd grade story, we have Brianna Nelson, who will talk a little bit about their work.
Hi, my name is Brianna Nelson. I'm a 2nd grade teacher here at Scooty Springs Elementary, and I was asked just to share a little bit about Driven by Data and what it has done for us in 2nd grade. It has been a great experience just, getting to collaborate with our teams and with our admin and just create goals in the classroom to support our students. One of the things that we have noticed has been the biggest help is the hands-on learning. And so at these meetings, we've been able to kind of collaborate and build off of each other's ideas, and we created not only 2nd grade Olympics, which is just different activities that we're doing at the end of the day that build our 2nd grade students' fine motor and gross motor skills. We're also doing more of hands-on reading strategies during our walk to read and our core times. And so what that looks like is we're bringing in sand. Our kids are writing their words in the sand so that they're actually physically doing the work. They're using dot-to-dot markers. They are using flashcards to do memory games. we're just trying to incorporate more hands-on learning so that the kids are able to really internalize that learning and show more growth. This year has been, well, actually the last 2 years have been really hard on our kids, just with COVID and everything that has been kind of thrown at us. Our kids are far behind, and we've realized that through these meetings and just creating these interims, we're seeing where they're currently at with our standards, and we're noticing that there's big gaps in their learning. And so this hands-on learning is helping us to just target those holes, but hopefully this will bring us a little bit closer to getting them to where they need to be. Student needs is our top priority right now, and so the Driven by Data has just given us the best opportunity to collaborate not only with our teams, but with our admin, just create realistic goals for our students and just to try our best to meet their need.
So in our very first meeting with the second grade team, they noticed that their kids weren't learning. There's a saying, you know, just because you taught it doesn't mean they've learned it, right? So their kids weren't learning things to the extent that they would have hoped. And so we talked a lot about what do our students need? What are they showing us they need? So that graphic there is the concrete to abstract continuum. And actually, if it keeps going more towards abstract, you'll have like numeral representations, 3+2, things like that. But what we talked about is if they're struggling with the drawing, let's go back a step and give them something concrete. If they're struggling with the concrete, like the blocks, give them the items. Because if kids aren't understanding where they're at, if they're showing confusion at the space that you're at on that continuum, then we need to back up a step to help them build that understanding. So we did a lot of work around that and moving backwards on the continuum and using our gross motor and fine motor in order to help solidify concept, skills, and learning.
Hi, my name is Brianna Nelson. I'm a second.
Okay. So this assessment, or this graphic, shows that first round of data meetings. That's the data that we looked at for that first round, that top row. The second row is the second data meeting. And if you'll notice that there was some growth between the first and the second on those repeat standards. In a lot of those areas, there was some growth. Some areas, there was some pretty significant growth. But I really want us to notice those new standards that weren't assessed on the first one, but they were assessed on the second. And we have green and blue. That means that the core instruction was more effective. The core instruction got 87% of our students at standard in NBT1. So really looking at increasing the effectiveness of our instruction, because that's what our kids are showing us that they need. So our effect size there, for fall to winter, in the STAR assessment, we had a 0.5 effect size. Now, if you remember, 0.4 is 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. This was the effect size from fall to winter, so half a year we would expect a effect size of 0.2. So we were really excited to see that significant growth. That tells us that we're closing gaps and we're helping to get our kids where they need to be. Still ways to go, but we're making growth.
So our first grade story is going to be told by Noemi Tovar and Monica Ochoa.
This year, at the start of the year, we noticed that a lot of our students came in. There was just some gaps in their learning, and we knew that we needed to do things a little bit different this year. So we started the data-driven process, and this basically is where the teachers met as a team with their principals, our instructional coach, and just our team, and we created these assessments. And we gave the assessments, and then we would go over the data in our data meetings. And this allowed us to pinpoint which students needed intervention and which specific standard they needed intervention on. So that's been, I really enjoyed this process. I feel like it's really helped us to just really close those gaps in these students and the holes that we saw at the beginning of the year. We're seeing a lot of good gains.
Well, after meeting with our principals and talking together as a team, we were given the opportunity to meet with Paula Lang, and we were able to visit her for a short period of time, and we got to just see the different games that she's incorporated into their teaching. And we, after meeting with her, we decided, you know, this is something great that we can incorporate into our teaching. It would, you know, hands-on, fun, you know, and so we thought, we began to put together a list of items that we thought we would need in order to begin the process to play these games, these hands-on games with the kids. And we're finalizing everything. We've changed our instruction. The teachers are meeting with those students that need that most need. And it's been great. The hands-on experience for them has been really exciting and fun, lots of fun.
We just felt like kids needed something different. They needed that tactile, manipulatives. They needed a different way to grasp the, you know, content that we, or the whatever skill we were working on. We just wanted to provide a different type of instruction where kids had just more of that fun, hands-on. So like, I know that we've incorporated different movements in our calendar time. We've done different, any kind of manipulative that like my sister was talking about into our core instruction, as well as our small group instruction. We just felt like we needed something different.
My students are asking, teacher, what are we gonna do that's fun today? So it's challenging me, it's challenging us to really think outside of the box. How are we going to make it a fun learning experience for them?
So at the same time, we're following this like reteaching plan that we've created, and we feel like we know we have these goals in mind, and we know what we want to work, what we're trying to achieve. But the kids think that they're just having fun playing games.
Yeah.
So it makes it fun for them, and it makes it more intentional for us. And so far, it's been working.
Yeah.
So Noemi and Monica clearly articulated the first grade story in this driven by data process. They have changed their instruction. They've stepped way outside their comfort zone to implement these developmentally appropriate practices to meet the needs of the students in front of them.
This year,
And so if you look at this graph, it shows the interims from fall to winter. And we are seeing some really great growth from these students. They came in with, they were struggling, but the work has been very intentional, and we have seen that this has been really good for our student learning. And again, if you look at the effect size, as Deborah just indicated, at this point, we would want to see at least a 0.2, and this is triple the progress. And so we're super excited about this data.
Sorry, one other piece about this, I wasn't supposed to talk about them, but I was really excited. They are working on creating their next math interim as an interview, because they don't want to just keep putting paper pencil tests in front of their students. So they're actually creating a more appropriate testing scenario for their first grade students by doing interview. We've seen a real big shift in practice, as well as an understanding of developmentally appropriate practice. So really excited about that. So our third grade story will be shared by Jessica O'Brien.
Hi, my name is Jessica O'Brien, and I'm a third grade teacher here at Scooty. My favorite part about the DataWise process is how intentional we're able to be with our reteaching. Each time we give an interim assessment, we have standards that we're assessing, and the next time we give it, we have review standards and we add new standards. It's really great to be able to see the growth between one interim to the next interim, and by looking at the data of the first, we're able to provide intentional intervention to those students on the specific standards that they need. The most exciting thing about the growth between the two assessments is getting those students to experience that success. We're able to celebrate as a grade level, we're able to celebrate as a class, and we're able to celebrate students individually how much progress they've made from one assessment to the next. After giving an interim assessment, we look specifically at what our students need, and we create a 6-week-long reteaching plan. And in that reteaching plan, we integrate new standards that we're going to be teaching, and we also intentionally plan how we're going to be teaching and reteaching those assessments those standards that students struggled with. It's really great to leave a meeting and have a plan for 6 weeks of what we're going to be focusing on as a whole class and what we're going to be focusing on with those small groups.
So the third grade reteach plan from the first interim to the second interim for ELA focused a lot on the RL 3.1 ask and answer questions to demonstrate understanding of a text. And they very clearly laid out the progression of how they were going to support their students with being successful in that. And as you can see, they grew 22% from the first interim to the second interim in that standard. But that work that they did on asking and answering questions to demonstrate understanding also benefited other standards. They went up 25% in being able to describe and understand characters and their traits and actions. They went up 15% in their language use and vocabulary, and at 10% in their ability to ask and answer questions about informational texts. So that 6-week targeted intentional reteach plan paid off for the students and for the classrooms.
So this is our work, and it's going to continue to be our work. Do you have any questions for us at this point?
I heard
No.
one of the, oh, sorry, Ken.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I heard one of the teachers mention Paula. So what is her reach in the school as far as, I mean, I know she's utilized greatly at the preschool, but that she has like a wealth of knowledge to help. Does she come in with all the teachers, or do they have to request her help? How does that kind of work?
Paula is very open and very invitational, and she will support anybody who asks. When our grade levels, when the first and second grade level expressed interest in learning more about getting rid of the worksheets or a new way to instruct for their students, we didn't hesitate to reach out to her and schedule time for our teachers to observe or to go learn more about some of the things that she's done. So she's available to us. She's not necessarily...
When Jennifer gives her permission.
Yeah, no, Jennifer's fabulous about sharing. No, she's just open and available as needed to support our students and our teachers.
That's great. I know I've heard people make comments just outside of even school saying how much that Paula has helped them in their classroom to learn new techniques with play learn, or I don't know what the exact terms are, but just new ways to kind of reinvent the wheel that have been really successful. So I think it's great. I love it. I'm so happy to see. I know it's been a major worry of the board, and I'm sure every teacher across America and every district, about the educational gaps because of COVID and the lost learning. But so it's super exciting to see you guys putting this to good use and really tracking where the students are at and making a big impact with the limited time that we have at school each day. So I really appreciate it. You guys, this was super great. I loved it.
And full disclosure, we looked for stories that could help support that could demonstrate the work that we're doing around the Driven by Data work. So the process begins with that teacher clarity piece, the planning in the beginning. So that's why we pulled that 5th grade piece in. The change in instruction based on student needs, we're hoping you saw that in the 1st and 2nd grade, and also the impact that can have on the learning of students. And then for 3rd grade, that intentional reteach plan and the difference that intentional reteach plan can make. We picked success stories. We still have a lot of work to do, and lots more growing to do. So,
well, with growing comes growing pains. So I'm sure it's not easy, and this is like the pretty end of it. But there's a lot of work that goes into getting to that point. So I appreciate it. I think it's great, and I love all the teachers who shared their stories. My kids have had every teacher that interviewed. So I mean, I have a personal affection for them, but they're also really great teachers. So thank you.
It was a great visit. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved getting in, intermingling around the kids. We even got involved in one of their dance sessions in one of them, and you had a couple board members, and John Wiseman was back there just going away. And I know the beginning of the year started very difficult, and but seeing what you two have did with it, and seeing the numbers in the beginning, and seeing where they're at now, you've tackled it head on, and you're making strides. And you're starting to continue the work. I could see the work continuing, and it's going up, and I could see a lot of strides, especially now that I hope things are going to get a little more normal for the kids, and at the ending of the year, and I really look forward to that, and I look forward to next year and the great strides that you two will be doing at Scooty. On a personal note, I just want to really thank you two, and your staff for the love, kindness, and support that you shared with us at the beginning of the year. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. We know that we've got a long road ahead of us. You know, one year of this process isn't going to, it's not going to be enough. We're going to need to continue the work. And then I also do have to say thank you to Ben Schuler and Ed Peterson for their help with creating those videos. Ben came out and videotaped after school one day. Ed came out and did another round of interviews. And there's no way we could have had the teachers share their stories without their help. So thank you.
So I'm sorry I was unable to get to your school. But I can see a lot of stride you're making, and enthusiasm from the teachers. That's the part you want to see, because that makes the kids want to be there, have fun, and learn. And yeah, I think it's super to have Paula come and help. She has so much energy to give and so much knowledge to help. So hope everybody takes advantage of that, because that's really a great asset. But you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I loved hearing that you have a 4-year plan and you're still in the middle and trying to perfect that 4-year plan, and that you're doing all these great things. To see those effect sizes, I'm sure that was just, finally paying off all of this hard work and all of those things. I love the candidness of your staff at the site visit, that not everyone is willing to be candid with us. So that is great to hear realities as well as good things. And just to be able to see all of the kids and the excitement and everything is just so great. So thank you.
I'll just share one moment in closing. Thank you two for coming and sharing your story through the story of your teachers. It was a powerful message, I think, for all of us tonight. I do want to make a quick comment on some of the research out there about how teachers learn. And a lot of it is grounded in what they're finding is most successful in what Paula Lang demonstrates. And that's learning from your peers, finding someone who understands your context and understands your world, and is able to not only teach kids, which our folks are highly skilled and trained in, but also to teach adults. So not only recognizing Paula's expertise, but also her ability to work with and lead adults. So I think a lot of good shout outs for her tonight too, so we'll pass that along as well. But thank you to Deb and Denise, and to the board for your comments about the work happening at Scooty. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you. Moving on to F1, upcoming events. So we've got, I never heard back from Mike, but there'd at least be 4 of us. The student rep interviews on the 9th. Thank you for adding that into the schedule. The 14th, we have the book study at 6, and we have committed to finishing that first section. I think there's like 5 of them and maybe 20 pages or so. It's fairly short still. And then our regular board meeting at 7, and then Desert Oasis. Do we need to discuss that now or at the next meeting, those details?
We can do that at the next meeting.
Says to be determined on the timing. So excited to go to another site visit. Any other upcoming events we need to be aware of? And masks are optional on the 14th? Okay, yes, I see someone doing a little jig down there about that. Board self-assessment of meeting. All right, plus deltas.
I'll go first. A major highlight for me tonight, and I would say it's been a highlight so important that it's just like making my heart swell 5 sizes, was to have a student in here that we recognize for their achievement in making it to state for choir, and in having the coin award go to Ashley Phillips. Like, we're finally getting back to where we can do some celebrating of some good news, and that felt really, really good. I loved it. Also, kudos to Jen. She did a good job running the meeting tonight.
I think all the awards that were rewarded tonight were really fun to watch.
Went a little bit longer than the scheduled plan, but I personally, I felt like good information.
Yeah, I was going to say we had a couple more points in the board member discussion, but it was all good relative information.
Mm-hmm. We had people in the audience. We love that.
I always love hearing the updates from students about students, so just want to appreciate our student reps for coming prepared with information and updates to give us about the students in the district, so thank you.
And then even moving forward with planning on doing another survey. That's what we want to hear from. We want to hear from students. Always regretful when we don't have a board of 5 present. I mean, I know that isn't always possible. And that we're moving forward with the student rep interviews, yes. Like, I feel like we're always like 3 months behind with that one.
I think it's a sign. I just broke my mask. It's the last time I can ever wear it.
Oh, dear. Okay, anything else I think that Pete, anything else you want to add there? Are you good with? Okay. I think our meeting is adjourned.